Good morning, y'all. It's Saturday and the weather is wonderful here in Texas. It's not as hot as our weather will be, and it makes you want to get out of the yard. So I promised y'all a little tour. Now part of it is still a work in progress, but I'm going to show you because I'll come back and show you when I'm finished with what I'm doing. But I've just come out this door right here, my back door, coming out into my little area that I love to spend time. And I've got my camera on the tripod right now, so I'm going to see if I can just get behind it and just slowly give y'all a view of this right here, and then I'll show you my little raised beds. I've got a bunch of the big nursery big black pots full of the good mushroom compost that I'm going to plant a bunch more tomato plants, and I'll show y'all what I'm doing there. So let's get on with this tour. I'm enjoying it, and the birds are singing, and the hummingbirds are fighting over the hummingbird feeder. Life is good in Texas. Okay, we're right back where I started, and there's my corner where I was working. I was standing there talking, and then the air conditioner's in the way. But see the ivy growing up the wall? I love it. It loves the brick. I guess it's the acid in the brick, and the leaves get huge, and it comes back every year. And then on over here are some more plants that I've got. See if I can come up a little closer. Some in the ground, and those ferns. All of these ferns wintered over. I didn't have to take them to the greenhouse or anything. They made it just fine. Okay, and then that's the door into my screen room. And there, y'all can see all of that. Now I'm going to back up some. So I can show you. This is where I have some just plants and some herbs. So I'm going to try to get this to be still right here where it's at and show you what I've got where here. Okay, I have sage, and this is anise hyssop and cilantro, and I have a it repels mosquitoes, and the word just went right out of my mind. I'll think of it directly. Coleus, oregano, and in my big feet I have some lemongrass and some mint. That's borage, and they need water, but our water well is broken. Troy's working on it, and I can't water until he gets it fixed. It went out yesterday. This is 3 containers of the lavender that will grow here in our area. And then I have some dill planted. I have some, what was that? Sorrel, red veined sorrel. That's yarrow growing in the orange boot. And these are red and green bell peppers. And this is an Asian mint, and they said that it'll repel snakes, so I always put some of it out. I'm not really bothered with them, so I don't know if that's working or what's working, but something's helping. Then I have chives in this urn. One of my big tomatoes, we've got to get a basket on that. I'm walking on around. There's another bell pepper, some more bell peppers. I planted Swiss chard in here, and can you see it's coming up? And that one has Swiss chard in it, and one of them's coming up. This is just some petunias for color. I have some rosemary down here that'll sprawl out and be pretty, and there when I need to use it. And then I've got some lemon. Just a minute and I'll tell you what that is. This is my regular thyme, and I love this old, I told you somebody threw it away and I got it on the side of the road. And then this is lemon thyme. And I have some hydrangeas. No, there's not hydrangeas, those are geraniums. Hydrangeas are around yonder. That is pineapple sage in here with the little red hat bird feeder, and of course I'm not going to feed birds right here. There's my bay laurel. It's growing. And then over here, I have just some more plants for my good pleasure. Asparagus fern and a little airplane plant in there, some yarrow, some ferns down at the bottom, and another geranium. I got those geraniums for like $2 a piece last year at the end of the season, and they wintered over, and I got them potted, and they're looking pretty good. There's some Swiss chard that I can have now, and then I'll have, you know, now and later. And I planted a few chard seed, and it's coming up in there with that geranium. This herb is, I can never remember its name, salad burnet, and it tastes like celery. So I wanted to try to grow some of that. There's a I have parsley growing. I have some more tomatoes to set out here, and then I picked up 6 more Cherokee purples yesterday that I'm going to be getting in the ground. Really crazy. I am crazy about them. They have such a wonderful flavor. This is a plant that the birds planted for me. It's a lantana. This one that's blooming a little bit is the yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the flowers will change to 3 different colors. Okay, y'all can see that Troy's got a wagon out there where he's working on the pump in the pump house, but these pots on the outside here all have tomatoes in them. And then my little raised beds are here. This is a cucumber plant, it's the first one here. And then I've got 3 yellow squash, straight neck squash, and then a tomato there and on the end. These are all the Romanesca zucchinis, and they're looking good. I planted them from seed. I'm proud of them. And then I have tomatoes in that, by the chicken there, that's a tomato plant, and the smaller one is basil. This tomato plant is growing really well. Then over here, more tomatoes. I'm going to have a lot of tomatoes because I need to can tomatoes and I need to make salsa. So also over here, these are all tomatoes, and my grandson was helping fill the pots, and of course I guess I'm goofy, but I like everything straight. So we'll get these all in a straight row and get them arranged pretty. I'd much rather have raised beds, and I did order some of those raised beds that are made out of stuff that looks like weed barrier, and they say they last for years. This is just a little scan, and then I was going to show you there. That's a tomato basket that hadn't been put up yet. I did have these red amaryllis were blooming all the way down the back here, but they've just about done their due. Isn't this one pretty? It's beautiful. Now we have a little dry gully that only has water in it when it rains, but you have to be prepared. So I have a whole lot of cast iron plants that started with just a little sprig that I planted there. So we've got the little bridge going across, and the kids' trampoline's back there. They don't use it anymore. All that's fixing to be cleared out, and I'll show y'all when I get that work in progress done. Now in behind these trees, if I walked back here, there's a gravel path that goes in between this and it's beautiful back there, but I haven't worked there yet, so I'm not going to show you that today. You'll see that on the next video maybe. We've got loquats that the birds have planted that I'm going to have to move. There's a big rice paper plant. You plant one of those and they just decide where they want to live after that, and they just come up, and I love it. Here's my lying bird feeder. It's supposed to be squirrel proof, but let me tell you, they've learned that they can get over here and sit on it, and it will stay open for them to eat. This tree is a sweet almond verbena, and when it blooms, it's little bitty white flowers, and y'all, it smells like double mint gum or something. It perfumes the whole backyard. I just love it. We had a storm come through here a while back, and it blew a tree over, and I can't pull that limb out. Troy's going to have to get his chainsaw and cut some of this where I can get it cleaned and fixed. Okay, here's looking from the opposite end. This is a Peggy Martin rose, and it's a rose bush that survived the saltwater flood during Katrina in New Orleans. That family had about 450 rose bushes, and this is the only one that survived. And the lady who had planted that rose garden a couple of generations ago, her name was Peggy Martin, and so they named this rose after her. It doesn't have thorns, and everywhere it touches the ground, it roots. Now, this needs cleaning out, but in among this, I have some obedience plants that were given to me from the herb area at Homestead up in close to Waco. So I want to wait to make sure which is my obedience plants, and then I'll clean all of this out. Now, Troy has hauled me some of the mushroom dirt up here and some sand to mix with it to pot some stuff. And so I've got a bunch of pots and stuff here. But see all of this? This is all Peggy Martin, and it's 3 little 1-gallon pots that have sat here because we didn't get an arch up and get them planted. And it sat here and touched the ground, so I've got a lot of bushes to dig up. And I'm going to arch a cattle panel, and I'm going to anchor each side of it and plant this and let it run over it and make me an arched walkway out. And this gets a lot of shade, and let me tell you, this still blooms. And you will always know that roses need sunlight. This is an orange tree that was absolutely loaded this year. And we have some coons that come and visit, and they stripped our orange tree. They did. Now I've got about 12 more buckets right here in front of the chicken coop that's going to be tomatoes. So I'll show you those when I get them planted. Through that arched walkway there is where I pot my plants, but I have not got it all cleaned and spiffed, so y'all not going to see it today. That's just my storage building. And then I have a lot of work to do over there, and we'll get to it. But this is one of the sitting areas that we enjoy coming out here and sitting in. And this is a split leaf philodendron that is frozen several different years, and it always comes back. I have hydrangeas planted in this circle of plants here that goes around this whole sitting area. And I have the English ivy, trying to get it to go up the tree. And I love pea gravel. We get it, Troy gets it with his dump truck, and I use it. I found out about pea gravel up at Homestead Heritage. They have it on all their walkways. Now down the side of the house here, I have a lot of those Mexican hydrangeas. That's what this big leaf plant is right here. When you get one, you'll have a million, but they bloom a big, beautiful pink flower. They're in those beds there. I also have some blue plumbago and some shrimp plant. See all the leaves? These white oak trees make 1 million leaves and tens of millions of leaves. I have raked leaves until I'm about ready to drop. But anyway, let me see if I can walk over here. This is another Peggy Martin that touched the ground and took off. I have a row of banana trees here that I like it because it helps to, I've got to trim the rest of the dead leaves off, but they are coming back. Helps to kind of shade the west end of the house. I don't have my cushions out, but I have some places to sit out here. Another loquat that I planted, I think that's called a rain tree, I'm not sure. This is an orchid tree. It only blooms at night, a white bloom that smells heavenly, but I don't get to see it very often. Now on this side of this sitting area, you can see I have some hydrangeas and a bunch of the Mexican hydrangeas that have just brought themselves here to be happy. That's a ginger that needs to be put into the ground. Sago palms that I bought for $5 when they were real little, and let me tell you, they have quadrupled in size. And that's ginger that I've had to trim. This did have some pretty roses in it, but they've kind of gone to pot, so I'm going to pull them up and get some more of the knockout roses and put in here. But this is just a little area in the middle that kind of separates the two areas. And I am going to move some more loquats into this area where I'll have an evergreen hedge during the winter between the two. I love that wrought iron thing over there. I got that off of the trade fair. Got a good deal on it, and I just love it. It's very heavy. Now let's see. I'll give y'all a quick view over here. This is grown up, and I'm going to clear all the way back to the fence. See, I have a windmill in among there. Don't ever plant morning glories. They take over. I'm just being real with y'all because I've got a lot of work to do. I have a greenhouse in there that I've got to clean out the underbrush and the growth. I didn't get out here last year, and let me tell you, you lose a year, you lose 4 years worth of work. So now let's see. I have daylilies. I have an old wheelbarrow here that had collected leaves and water, but I'm going to put some stuff in it, and I'm planting lettuce there. Here's a little walkway through, and I have some plants planted in here. And then this is an old antique watering thing I got somewhere. This is where I have my hammocks, and if we eat out here, I have tables and chairs that we use. I planted one I didn't plant. A lady gave me a 1 gallon thing with paint in it, and she said it was not invasive. Well, maybe it's a 2 gallon pot. There's the pot, and let me tell you, I've had fishing poles coming up everywhere. We got to do something to get rid of it. But this is where I have my hammocks, and I've ordered new hammocks that'll be in this week. I'll have one here. And again, I have the pea gravel there. These are the chairs that go to one of my tables over there, but my wicker chairs that were out here bit the dust, so we're using these for now. Then I'll have another hammock on that stand. I had a waterfall in the corner over there, but I don't know if it was a coon or a squirrel jumped. Somehow they knocked it over and broke it. So I've got to get that cleaned out. I'm not going to put another waterfall there, I don't think. I have a huge one that Troy's going to put together, and I'll find where I want to put it out here. But this is kind of the essence of the backyard, and then I have plants surrounding this whole sitting area. I have 1, 2, 3 hydrangeas here, and just some ruella, is that the name of it? In a pot, because it's taking over everywhere too. I think that's like a little yo pond, but just for some greenery. And then what I do, I'll plant some impatiens and just set in among it a little later for color. So y'all will get to see that probably. It won't be ready on the next video, but at some point in an update, you'll get to see that. Now I'm going to walk out front. Along the fence over here, I have a bunch of different kinds of, I don't know what you call these things. They look like some kind of lily. And they all bloom, and most of them were given to me from family members, so I really like that. I've got some more that I'm going to transplant into here. And then I'm just going to plant a few flowers that will bloom. So let me go get me a swig of tea, and I'll walk out to the garden that we've planted. We've got a little bit planted in it. I planted a row of sunflowers. From the road, everybody will be able to see the sunflowers. And it's beautiful. I did this a couple of years ago. People would stop and get in front of them and take their picture. I mean, they're gorgeous. So, yeah, this is where I spend a lot of time just relaxing and sitting down to cool off when I'm working in the yard. But let me tell y'all something. This and cooking make me happy. So I'm going to walk back around through the house and out front and show y'all that little garden and what's up. And then we'll have another update in a couple of weeks or sooner if everything takes off and grows. I don't know if you can see or not, but I've got, maybe you can see 1 or 2 of them. Some of my chickens. Their little house. I wanted to talk to y'all about this plant right here. If you're not familiar with it, this is African blue basil, and it brings in the pollinators like crazy. And you want to put, this is just some stuff that needs planting, some zinnias and marigolds, citronella, another tomato. But the African blue basil will bring pollinators into your garden, so you need to plant one where you and they love it. The hummingbirds and the bumblebees love it. This plant right here, this tree, is an olive tree, and I bought it in a little 4-inch pot and just set it in here where my Meyer lemon is, and it took root. I think I've showed y'all this before, but it's pretty big now. I'm going to try to ease all of that out of that pot and take a sharp machete or something and cut that part off and get it in its own spot where it'll go ahead and grow and be pretty. But I just love the idea that I have an olive tree. I have a few pots of herbs here in the front. I have some rosemary, lemon balm, chives, and then just some vinca, and a big water fountain that I've got to get washed out and get water in it and get it going here to sing its song to me. This big tree was not nearly this big 40 years ago when we moved out here, but it made such a shade in our yard. And when we have hurricanes, I don't pray too much for the house because it's insured, but I pray for my big oak tree. Lord, keep my tree standing. Okay, this is our little garden up front. And the very last row, all the way over, next to the grass there, I always plant in sunflowers. Now we have, you can see, maybe you can see some of it coming up. We've got 2 or 3 rows of sweet corn. We have yellow squash and lots of green beans. And I hope y'all can see the ones that are coming up. We've got stuff coming up. It's just not coming up as much as we wanted it to. But there's still, it rained real hard right after we planted. So I'm hoping that we get a good standing from it. This is all green beans. This row, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of green beans, or 5 rows of green beans. And then this over here, all of that, all the way down, is sunflowers. And then that's mushroom dirt that Troy got to put on the plants. My husband planted that tree right there. He planted that tree. And he planted another one that's in the front yard over there about 20 years ago. This one is longer than 20. But I'm so glad that he planted some. He planted some too close together. But now over there, what you can see, we have plum trees, a fig tree, and an orange tree. And then all the way out by that fence, way out over there, I have a Meyer lemon, and I don't know if you can see the bush underneath this tree and on out or not. But anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed the tour, and we will do this again in a couple of weeks, and hopefully this stuff in this garden will be knee-high by then. Okay, y'all, I am so hot and miserable from being out in the sun taking those pictures. It's probably 80 today, but the humidity down here makes it worse. It was cool when I first started. But anyway, I'm going to hurry up and get to the computer and get this uploaded where y'all can see it. I told you it was Saturday. It's actually Friday here, and you'll see it at 1 o'clock tonight, which will be Saturday morning. So let me know what you think about it, and if you enjoyed it, and if you want me to do it again in a couple of weeks and let you see how stuff's coming along, and just keep updating through the summer as my produce and all comes in. I hope y'all are putting something in a pot, on the stove, and outside. It's just a pleasure to cook something that you grew yourself. And of course, raising enough that I can can it, we'll have fresh vegetables all year long that I knew what they grew in. They're organic. And I know how cleanly they were canned because I'm going to do it myself. And then we will wash our hands real good and sit down and eat them. The good Lord bless y'all. And come back here in a day or two and we'll probably have something good to eat.